What really happened between Tiger Woods and Scottie Scheffler? Was it jealousy? Was it a passing of the torch that went horribly wrong? Did the student finally challenge the master? Or did the master try to humble the student in a way no one ever expected? In a sport built on gentlemanly conduct and quiet respect, could the two biggest names in golf have actually come to blows? What was said in that private moment that made Scottie Scheffler, the most stoic man in the game, lose his composure? And what did Tiger Woods do that left the entire PGA Tour buzzing? The whispers have been there for months. The tension has been building for years. But no one, absolutely no one, saw this coming. The fight that nearly tore the sport apart. A moment of violence that threatened to shatter the legacy of one legend and destroy the career of a rising star. This is the story of what really happened between Tiger Woods and Scottie Scheffler. It began not with a shout, but with a whisper. It began with a golf ball, white and innocent, sitting on the manicured grass of a practice green in the shadows of a massive tournament. In the world of professional golf, there is an unspoken hierarchy. At the top sits the untouchable throne, a seat occupied by a single man for nearly 30 years. His name is Tiger Woods. For the younger players on the PGA Tour, Tiger is not just a competitor. He is an idol, a myth, a force of nature that they grew up watching on television. And for years, Scottie Scheffler was the most ardent believer in the myth. He spoke of Tiger with reverence, insisting that any comparison between them was very silly and that Tiger stands alone in the game of golf. But in the world of sports, respect and resentment can be two sides of the same coin. In the months leading up to the 2026 season, a shift had begun. Scottie Scheffler was no longer just a great player. He was becoming a dominant force. He had racked up multiple major championships, including 2 Masters titles, and was dismantling fields with a robotic consistency that the game hadn't seen in a generation. He won 17 PGA Tour events and was just a U.S. Open away from a career Grand Slam. His peers were in awe. Xander Schauffele admitted that seeing Scheffler's name at the top of the leaderboard sucks for us. Rory McIlroy called him the bar that we're all trying to get to. The golf world was ready for a new king. Then came the whispers. As Scottie's star ascended, some began to draw comparisons not just to Tiger's game, but to his dominance. An article surfaced quoting 2-time Masters champion Bubba Watson, who made a stunning declaration. He claimed that Scottie Scheffler's 2024 season, with 7 wins and an Olympic gold medal, was actually better than Tiger Woods' legendary 2000 campaign. This was not just a compliment to Scottie. It was a direct shot at the legacy of Tiger Woods. It was a statement that questioned the very foundation of Tiger's greatness in the modern era. The words hung in the air like smoke. They were a declaration of war, spoken by a friend of Scottie's caddy, Ted Scott. The rumor mill began to churn. People started to wonder, did Scottie agree with that assessment? Had his reverence turned into a silent ambition to surpass the legend, to truly knock him off the mountain? The tension was palpable, a storm cloud gathering on the horizon. Then came the moment that broke everything wide open. The tension between Tiger Woods and Scottie Scheffler did not erupt overnight. It was a slow burn, a pressure cooker that had been building for years beneath the surface of professional golf's carefully polished veneer. To understand the fight, you have to understand the quiet war that was being waged long before any fists were thrown. Scottie Scheffler had always been the perfect student. He studied Tiger's game obsessively, modeling his approach to course management, his mental fortitude, and even his methodical pre-shot routine after the great man himself. When Scottie won the Masters for the first time in 2022, he was emotional, not just because he had achieved his childhood dream, but because Tiger Woods had been there on the 18th green to congratulate him. It was a passing of the torch moment, captured by cameras and replayed endlessly. Scottie looked up at Tiger with tears in his eyes, and the golf world swooned. But something shifted in the years that followed. Scottie stopped talking about Tiger as an idol and started talking about him as a peer. He began mentioning the importance of becoming my own player and carving my own path in interviews. It was subtle at first, a slight change in tone that only the most observant fans noticed. Then came the comments that raised eyebrows. After winning his second Masters in 2024, Scottie was asked about his place in history, about whether he thought he could one day challenge Tiger's record of 15 majors. His response was measured, respectful, but there was an edge. He said he was just trying to keep up with his best, and that Tiger is Tiger. But the very fact that he was even discussing the comparison was a shift. The reverence was giving way to ambition. Tiger, for his part, was not oblivious. He saw the headlines. He read the comparisons. He heard the whispers that Scottie Scheffler was the closest thing to a Tiger killer the game had ever produced. Tiger, always a master of psychological warfare, began to push back. He started making cryptic comments during press conferences about new guys not understanding what it really takes to win, and how consistency means nothing if you can't close out the biggest tournaments. He played the role of the grizzled veteran, the old lion who still believed he was the king of the jungle. Tiger later announced he would skip the 2026 PGA Championship to focus on other aspects of his game, raising questions about his willingness to compete against the new wave. But the real friction point came on the practice green at a private event, away from the cameras and microphones. Witnesses recall a tense exchange, words exchanged in hushed tones that seemed harmless to anyone passing by. But the body language said everything. Scottie, usually calm and collected, appeared agitated. Tiger, usually stoic and measured, looked almost hostile. Whatever was said in that moment, it was the spark that would ignite the entire powder keg. The questions became louder. What was happening between these two? Was Scottie's rise truly threatening Tiger's legacy? Or was this something far more personal, a clash of egos that had nothing to do with golf? The world was about to find out. The practice green at the 2025 Tour Championship was supposed to be a place of calm, a sanctuary where the world's best golfers fine-tuned their crafts away from the roaring crowds. But on that Tuesday afternoon in Atlanta, it became the stage for something no one expected. The tension that had been building for years finally boiled over. Witnesses later described the scene in hushed tones. Scottie Scheffler, the stoic Texan who had just completed one of the most dominant seasons in modern golf history, was working on his putting stroke. Nearby, Tiger Woods, the legendary figure whose shadow Scottie had been trying to escape for years, was doing the same. On the surface, it was a routine scene, but the air was thick with unspoken words. The seeds of this confrontation had been planted long before. Throughout the 2025 season, the comparisons had reached a fever pitch. Scottie had won 6 tournaments, including 2 majors at the PGA Championship and the Open Championship, amassing a staggering $27.6 million in earnings and cementing his status as the most dominant player on the planet. Even Tiger had marveled at his achievements, saying, "What he's doing on the golf course is just incredible. The strategy, the consistency, the way he's present for all 18 holes." But public praise can sometimes mask private resentment. Scottie Scheffler had always been the student, the disciple who had absorbed every lesson Tiger Woods ever taught him. He had modeled his game after Tiger's. He had adopted the same mental approach, the same obsessive preparation. He had even gotten into a recent disagreement with Rory McIlroy over the Tour Championship format, showing that he wasn't afraid to speak his mind. The respect was genuine. But respect does not mean submission, and Scottie had reached a point in his career where he was no longer the acolyte. He was the master of his own domain. As the confrontation intensified, those nearby reported seeing Scottie's face change. The calm, collected demeanor that had become his trademark vanished. In its place was something raw and unguarded. This was a man who had won 17 PGA Tour events, who had hoisted the claret jug at Royal Portrush, who had been named the PGA Tour Player of the Year for 3 consecutive seasons. He had 4 majors under his belt. He had won the Memorial Tournament, joining Tiger as one of the few players to successfully defend that title. And just as Tiger had taken exactly 1,197 days to win his first 4 majors, Scottie had done the same. A statistical coincidence that the media had latched onto with fevered excitement. He was no longer chasing the legend. He was running alongside him. Tiger, for his part, had been watching Scottie's ascent with a mixture of pride and something else. Publicly, he had been effusive in his praise. When asked about Scottie's dominance at the Hero World Challenge, Tiger had said, "There's nothing you can't not like about Scottie. What he's doing on the golf course is just incredible, the consistency day in and day out." He had even admitted to loving watching Scottie hit irons, admiring the trajectory control and distance management. But private emotions are rarely as clean as public statements. Tiger Woods, the man who had once admitted that his goal was to demoralize and humiliate every other player in the field, was watching his records being challenged by the very man he had mentored. Then came the moment that changed everything. According to multiple sources close to the situation, Tiger made a comment that cut deeper than any golf statistic. He questioned Scottie's drive, suggesting that while the young Texan had the talent, he lacked the killer instinct that separated champions from legends. He pointed to Scottie's own admission that he wasn't motivated by winning championships or thinking about legacy, that he just wanted to live out his dream and do things to the best of his ability. In Tiger's mind, that was a weakness. A champion should want to destroy the opposition. A champion should be consumed by victory. Scottie, Tiger implied, was content with greatness when he should be obsessed with immortality. The words hit Scottie like a physical blow. He had spent years deflecting comparisons, insisting that it was very silly to be mentioned alongside Tiger. He had tried to carve his own path, to build his own identity. But here was the man he idolized, the man who had inspired an entire generation of golfers, telling him that he wasn't good enough, that he didn't want it badly enough. Scottie had given Tiger credit for changing the way he approached tournaments, recalling that one round with Woods at the 2020 Masters completely reshaped his mentality. He had watched Tiger lock in on the first green, even when he was 11 shots out of the lead, and thought, holy smokes. But now, it seemed that Tiger had taken that intensity and weaponized it against him. Scottie shoved Tiger hard. The contact was swift and shocking. Tiger, despite his age and injuries, was still powerful enough to hold his ground. But the gesture itself was a declaration. It was Scottie saying, I am not your student anymore. I am your equal, and I will not be diminished. What happened next would blur the lines between myth and reality, between the carefully constructed narratives of professional golf and the raw, unfiltered emotions of two men who had let their egos get the better of them.